welcome to the second part of my job search post-graduating my master's degree. In case you didn't see the first part, I'm gonna say the first one is more interesting. This one is essentially just a summary of the last 2 weeks of the process and how I actually did finally end up getting a job. So let's quickly give you a summary of what happened in the last video in case you don't have time to watch that or in case you already forgot. I started looking at applying for jobs all over Germany in the fashion industry and also some within social media around the time of graduating. So a little bit before I graduated, I already started applying. I applied over several months and then a ton of applications, rejections, and a handful of interviews later, I started recording my first job search vlog because I was really just hitting roadblock after roadblock, and I decided that I wanted to document it to maybe help some people out there who are currently going through the same thing, to let you know that this is absolutely normal and you're not the only one. We can make it through this. And then at the end of the last video, I kind of explained that I decided to bite the bullet and look for jobs outside of my industry. At this point, I had applied to plenty of jobs around Germany and I had had one interview. It wasn't the perfect position, it was very far away, and I realized in my head I am not willing right now to completely change my life and move for a job that I'm not 100% about, and there weren't any open positions that I was going to be hired for currently available. So I decided to shift my focus back to Berlin and look for jobs that would have me staying in Berlin for now, and that was just what I had prioritized. So here's me looking for a minimum wage job in Berlin after spending the last 6 years of my life working on my education. First things first, I answered an email that was still open from a rejection that I had gotten, I believe 2 weeks or so prior, just to ask for clarification and feedback as to why I got that rejection, because to me it came very out of the blue. Task number 1, writing the email that I have been putting off for exactly 2 weeks now. It has slid very far down on my inbox. That is another to-do that I can write down, clean my inbox. Probably won't be happening today. And send. That one needed to be done so bad. I'm glad I got that sent off. That was the biggest one. And this is exactly why I do these types of productivity vlogs, because I don't know what it is about this camera, but it is keeping me accountable. I have worked in customer service before, but personally, I am more comfortable in positions where I don't have to explain to a grown man that there is a difference between denim sizing and regular sizing. And just because he's a 30-inch in Levi's doesn't mean that he is a 30 in dress shirts. So I personally very much prefer jobs where I'm kind of working more so in the background and where I don't have a ton of direct customer contact. This was really the only criteria for the jobs that I was now looking for, and because of that I decided to start looking as close as possible to my house. Because I decided if I'm not going to work in the fashion industry in the first place, I might as well work somewhere that is close to have a short commute every day. And the jobs that I found very close to me that kind of fit the criteria of I don't constantly have to talk to customers were stocking shelves at supermarkets. So that is the first kind of jobs that I started applying for. Yesterday I officially hit my low point in this job search. I applied for a position to stock shelves at a supermarket, and I got denied for that because apparently, according to the email, they found someone else better qualified, which, okay, fair, I've never done the job before, but that was a big hit to my ego. So yes, yesterday I had an absolutely shitty day. Today I sent out 2 more applications because life goes on, to 2 more supermarkets, same job. Changed my application a little bit. Let's hope that works. It is about 1 p.m. right now. I should have lunch. I just heard my stomach growl, so I'm gonna do that now. And then afterwards, I'm gonna leave the house and I'm gonna do something nice for myself. I'm probably just gonna leave the house for like 30 minutes. There's a surprise that I have plan for my partner for starting his next semester. So I'll get something for that, and that will be my little adventure of today. The weather being super dark and kind of rainy has been horrible. I feel like the day's over at 7 p.m. I absolutely hate it. Does not help my mood whatsoever. When I decided that I was gonna take October off and be like, okay, I'll set an ultimatum to like this date or whatever, I don't know what else to do. Like, what was the ultimatum for? The ultimatum was to then apply to jobs that aren't necessarily in my field but would just get me money on the table and food on the, well, no, money into my pocket and food on the table. And that is literally what I'm already doing, and I'm failing at that. So I do not know what's gonna happen if I don't have a job by the end of this month. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was hoping to find something somewhat early on and sign something for the beginning of November and just take October off to slow down, visit friends, enjoy life before I actually start to work. October is also coming to an end now, so let's give one more update as to what's been happening. Current tally, I have sent out 27 applications, 10 of which have still not answered. Some of them I applied to over 2 months ago, so they will not be answering. I had 2 interviews, one of which said no to me, and the other one I said no to, which that one, it would have entailed a lot moving across the country and everything, so I'm still happy that I said no to that. But what has been happening? Essentially, I had decided to give myself 1 more month, so October, to figure out a job, and honestly, there has really barely been any listings in my actual field of work. That is the update. It's not been fun. I've spent days and days and days, hours and hours and hours looking for possible positions. Kind of specifically what I'd looked for the last couple of days was more of a startup setting in production. Maybe in the food industry, maybe not, but just kind of startup in the production where you might have a little bit more diverse of tasks, where you might actually get the position even though that's not specifically your background, where you actually enjoy going to work just because it's like, you know, a smaller company that you can watch grow and help grow. And I would love to support a small business, specifically a female founder. I think that's mostly what I'm focusing those on. But yeah, honestly, I didn't find anything in Berlin. There's a couple of places that I found, most of which were not hiring. Some of them were in fact hiring, but just very far away with public transport. So I personally don't want to drive over an hour to a job that's going to pay me a little bit more than minimum wage. The following clip was filmed after receiving yet another rejection for an application, meaning there was no more open applications at this point that I was still expecting to get an answer for. So I'm back to square one, and I just sat down again and looked for a bunch of jobs, and it is so sad because I want to work. Honestly, I would like to work. I would like to leave the house and do something productive and feel good about what I do, and I just want it to be something I feel good about, and it sucks so bad. For my graduation, so when I had my final presentation, the day after, my partner wanted to surprise me and had kind of like a very nice day around Berlin planned, and there's a specific type of food we like to eat, and we went to one spot, and they had just opened like 2 months ago, and it was really, really nice. And at the end we had a conversation, like the founder of it, he asked for feedback specifically, and he was really excited, super, super kind. And my partner actually asked if they were hiring because my partner was also looking for a job, and he said that they were, and then nothing came of that because it just complicated, whatever. But they're still hiring, and my partner no longer needs a position, so I'm not going to be taking it from him potentially. But I could see myself working there 100%. So I am now going to write an application, and we'll see what comes from that. Excuse the noise in the background. That is the microwave heating up my lunch because it is 2 p.m.-ish and I really do need some food. I just finished a sewing project. I was going to be going up on Shorts, which I'm very excited about. little update on the whole job hunt. I have a trial shift for a job tomorrow. It is going to be a full 8-hour shift, which I have never had a full 8-hour shift as a trial. Usually, from my experience, trials are more 3 hours-ish, if even. So that's gonna be interesting. And then the day after, I have an interview for a different position. I'm very glad that they were back to back because those are the only two things going on currently. So essentially, I'm going to have the trial shift, I'm going to have the interview, and then I'm going to try to make up my mind for myself. What do I want to do? And I'm not going to have to leave anyone hanging for a long time. I'm not going to be like, hey, give me like 2 weeks to think about this, but I can make the decision hopefully rather quickly. And then the day after that, I have a appointment at the Job Center für Bürgergeld, so essentially financial aid from the state for me being. It is Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. You're on my phone right now. Sorry for the horrible quality. I am on my way to the job interview. I prepped this morning, and essentially I just figured out for myself what can I offer them, what can they offer me, what am I specifically looking for when it comes to hours, flexibility, and pay. Those were my big three. And now I'm going into an in-person interview. We'll see how it goes. I got a job. Nothing assigned yet, but I got a yes. And I'm scheduling a call for tomorrow to figure out all of the logistics, numbers, start date, all of that. But I got a yes. The job search has ended. I've actually been in my new role for a couple of weeks now, so let me give you a little rundown of how the last few weeks of the job search went. Essentially, there's 2 different roles that I'm going to be talking about for the next few minutes, and one of those roles I ended up going with. So both of them were part-time positions. Number 1 was a role that I applied for. I was actually very excited about the job description, and they ended up getting back to me and being like, hey, we actually see you in a different role. Would you be open for that as well? Reason being, quite simply, the role that I applied for, they only hire young men to do that role. They saw me in a different position. They were like, hey, could you see yourself doing this? I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. I had an interview. I ended up having a 4-hour trial shift. Went to said trial shift. That is the short version. And then job number 2 was a position that I applied for. They were like, hey, perfect, we would need someone part-time, so your application to do it part-time works out great for us. I, again, had an interview. This one was a phone interview. Then I had a full trial shift, full 8 hours, mostly with a focus of seeing what the scope of the work was, what one full shift would actually look like. I had another call after said trial shift. I'm not going to go into crazy detail about the 2 jobs, essentially 2 very, very different positions. One with working hours that are honestly a little bit too late for my liking, one with working hours that are a little too early for my liking, one with the perfect amount of hours I want to do, one with more hours than I would have wanted to do, one task-wise that I would enjoy more, also team-wise that I would enjoy more, one task-wise that honestly I wouldn't quite enjoy that much. Pay, neither of them what I would hope for after going to university full-time for 6 years, but both of them also very much not in the field that I studied, so therefore that's just life. That is essentially the update, and I ended up getting an offer for the position that I preferred, which meant that I ended up saying, all right, let's go. So essentially it is going to be a role where I'm going to be doing my job mostly alone, and so I've had quite a few shifts now being taught the ropes every single step of the process, and going forward, I'm going to be doing it alone. I am very happy to be at this point, to be done and through with this process. It was a long time coming. It was very, very exhausting, but here we are. If you're wondering what my new job is, you'll probably find out at some point in time. We'll see. It took a long time, but I did find myself a job, and now I can breathe again, take my free days to finally focus on whatever I want to do, including making more content for you guys, and I'm very, very excited about that. Also, quickly before I log off, here are my 3 main tips if you are currently on the job hunt. Number 1, don't ever check your emails before you have breakfast. So if you have your email notifications on your phone, maybe even turn those off, because most of my no's for jobs I got very early in the morning, so it was the first thing I woke up to. It is not a great start to the day. Do not recommend. Tip number 2, apply for jobs that don't exist. If you're applying for a job that exists, you are competing with a bunch of different candidates that applied for that job. If you are applying for a position that doesn't officially exist but might actually make sense to create, so for example, you reach out to a company and say, hey, this and this and this is my background, this is what I could do for you, could we work something out here? They might actually, at this point in time, be thinking about opening a position like that. So in this case, you're going to be competing with the company and their structure and the company's budget, but not with anyone else. So if you are convincing enough and they have currently the budget and the flexibility to make that work, awesome. Now, obviously, depending on the field that you work in, this makes sense or no sense at all, and you can have amazing luck with this or no luck at all, but I think it's definitely something that you should be considering and looking into, because it has opened up options for me in the past. And number 3, again, depends on your industry, but show up in person. All of the jobs, I know you apply online, it's very non-personal, I get it. Apply online, go in person and say, hi, just wanted to stop by and say I applied for the position, just wanted to say hi, show my face, done. It doesn't need to be much. Again, totally depends what the position is, how big the company is. If you're going to be talking to one person in a 20,000 people company, probably nothing will come of it. But if you're going to be talking to one person out of a 15 people company, your name, your face will be thrown around and you are more likely to get an answer, even if it is a no. But ghosting you after you showed up in person and said, hello, this is me, is harder to do. So those are my 3 tips. Use them as you want or don't. And good luck to all of you. I know it sucks right now, but there is an end at some point.